Hey, it's Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's February the 18th. This will be a chart lesson for today. Um, Pretty standard trading day, what I would call a range day, and it's really, for the most part, the same range that we had on the holiday day yesterday. And you can see that we had some lows down here around 1832 and the highs up here around 1840. And lo and behold, that's basically what we've got today. We went a little bit lower. We had a little failed break lower. Um, couldn't go much higher. And we're just kind of stuck in that trading range. And this is kind of a typical trading day that you'll see in the ES quite often. I love these kind of days really because they're so predictable. This one was a little tricky. Um, Late morning. It still held true to the rules so far, but it's a little bit tricky. And the more I look at it, this probably needs adjusting up a little bit, possibly as well. I don't think we've had a break, um, but it's just otherwise it was pretty straightforward, and there weren't a whole lot of entries today. And but we'll talk about what I saw and go from there. The first trade I saw was a little after 7 o'clock this morning. Notice the new low. We shot up. That's what a reversal pattern kind of looks like, meaning we're going to reverse and go the other way. Notice how we went lower by only a tick, and then we make this high that's higher than this high and this high, and it's back up here almost testing the highs, but we aren't back to the overnight high yet or even the high from yesterday. And then we turn down, and then we try to go lower again here a second time. So there's really a little trap here, right here when we went lower. And look at that reversal bar, and it's right off a possible trend line if you drew that line. So I like that for your first entry. Took a few minutes to work out, but it was a fairly easy scalp. No runners, not unless you used a limit order, which you might have done here because of the overlap. And then you get a failed second entry short. Notice the new low, first entry, and then this is like on a bigger picture, a failed entry short, and it reverses again right off that trend line. Just go long right there. We're probably headed up here to test this high. Again, an easy scalp, no runners, and then I didn't really like entering after that. We're too close to the highs. There's too big a chance. You can see prices are swinging from both sides of the EMA. This is not real steep. It's flattening out here. So just kind of be prepared to watch for a second entry short off this high. And notice this, you get a failed break higher above this double top. It's an exact double top off the overnight high. Then this little swing goes a little bit lower than that one, and then a lower high. It's not a great setup bar there, but on trading range days, sometimes that's how it's going to be. And you can tell it trapped people because look at it shoot down real fast. So most people got fooled to the upside here. And that's how you know if it was a really good trap by how fast it moves downward. And then you get a little pullback here and another chance to go short. And this is a failed second entry long. It's a trap again. Notice the new high, first entry, pullback, and there's a second entry long there. And it trapped people really quickly. You can see that prices were coming right off that trend line there, and it turns back down. It's getting close to this low, but you figure we're going to test that low for sure. And so easy scalp and not much more. You might have got, if you had a runner and you exited when we broke lower and reversed, you probably got an extra point or so out of it maybe. So this one I drew in purple. Somebody sent me their chart and they were asking about going long here. On their chart, they had a nice reversal type bar. Notice mine's not that nice. It's kind of got that tail, and there's about 4 bars stacked up there. So it doesn't look as good on my chart. So on mine, I really had no option but to draw this in the lavender color. I think it was kind of risky going long right here. Now, if you waited on it to break higher and used the limit order down here and you got filled, that's a little better. Even then, I think it's just kind of risky because it's so close to the EMA there. But if you had the setup like this other trader with a reversal type bar there that closed on its high, then it was probably okay to go long there because it is a second entry and it is a failed break lower on what looks like a trading range day. And so it depends on your setup, but on my chart, there's just nothing there, even though it would have worked. And then you're just waiting on prices to kind of come back to this trend line. And I think it's really a little steeper than what I originally had it drawn. I showed you how I originally had it drawn, but I think it's more like that right there after the fact. And it does seem to fit better on the upper side like that as well. Um, so I believe that to be more the proper way it should have been drawn. Uh, and I really should have a kind of a lavender color right here, but I didn't want to get this so crowded up. But this is kind of no man's land. There's a failed second entry short right here, and if you took it, it would have worked, but it's so stacked up, and we really needed more of a pullback, and we worked back to the trend line, and the trend line might have even been up here. I think it to be more back down here, and we just kind of overshot it there. So I think we were overdone there. Um, but it was kind of hard to tell that really until you had more price action here. So really what you needed to do is just wait on a short trap here, and notice you got your new swing low right here, and you got a first entry short and then a second entry short. So you've tried to test this low two more times, and then it reverses and goes higher, and you're looking for prices to come back up here and test the highs. And so you had to enter here, and you might have thought about entering here simply because of that first entry pullback, second entry short, and it kind of fails there. And if you had the trend line drawn like I originally showed you, it looked kind of like a bounce off the trend line, but there's still all those bars stacked up. Too many matching lows, too many matching highs. It was real aggressive to go long there, and it would have worked. Um, your stop needed to go right below this last swing low, and you can see we never could get below that. But you definitely could have gone along here because now you've got the trap. This one was real aggressive, and basically after looking at this, I just wouldn't recommend taking that trade. But aggressive trader, and if you had that trend line drawn like I originally had mine drawn, it was tempting not to take that. So if you took it, great, it worked out. If you didn't, um, you probably did the smart thing, and then you got the better setup here, and you can see then it takes on off, and it goes up here, and it tests that high, and there's a second entry short right here coming off that high. Aggressive trader might have taken that too, but we've got a double bottom right there. We're above the EMA. I think you got to wait to make sure we're not going to make a new high here. We really needed to make a new high no matter how you drew that line. And we go back and we try to make it here. There's actually a little trap right here. It looked like it was going to be a breakout pullback short. It fails. And you figure we're going back to make a new high. So I liked going long there. And that's another reason you don't really want to go short right there because we haven't made that new high. Um, so you got to be a lot more careful lately going short off the highs of the range. The going long off the lows tends to be the sure thing. And the one up here, you got to wait on the right setup. If you went short here, it worked. But I didn't like it, and I didn't like going long until you got a little trap right here. And so I really thought we'd go make a new high by a tick or so here at least, or we could have, I wasn't even sure that we wouldn't keep going higher because we've done that some lately. But easy scalp, nothing more, and then you get the failed second entry long and a second entry short. Notice that new low, first entry, pullback, second entry. So you got a little trap there. I like to go in short right there because we're making lower highs down through here now. And you figure we're going to come back down and at least test this. So it takes a little while, but once it breaks on through, it drops down really quickly. And this was a little bit tricky right in here. And if you just stayed out of it, there's nothing wrong with that. You need to really know what's going on here before you commit to a trade. If you don't want to be guessing. And I really felt like, except for the two traps, you were guessing at this one. So if you did anything different. So it was better just to either sit tight or wait on the traps. And even then, you might have got shaken out of this one, or you might have got shaken out of either one of them. But you should have at least gotten out with a profit. So hopefully if you took those, and then that was really it. Nothing much has happened since then. The volume's really low. Uh, there's no more news today. Let me just double check that. Yeah, there's some Fed stuff coming out at 1:15. It's not the big time Fed news, but you never know with the Fed what's going to happen. So actually, it's already come out. So I guess it has. It's 1:20 now. I didn't realize it was 1:20, but evidently it didn't have that big of impact on the market, and it's not the FOMC stuff either. So, but anytime the Fed's got something going on, something could happen, and so something could come out any minute that could drive this thing one direction or the other. But that's really all there was today. There's still a chance to make, a nice profit today if you follow the rules and you understand how to trade a range. I generally like these days because they're so predictable. And, really what you're expecting, if you're not doing anything else here, you're expecting for prices to work lower off the high of this range. And so that would have got you into most any of these shorts that would have worked, even though, a lot of them I felt were too risky to be taken. The bias after reaching this top should be to look for prices to correct now and try to go the other side to the downside. So, and the same thing once we reach the bottom here, or once we bounced off the low there. We really didn't confirm this low until here, and this really kind of confirmed the trading range when we turned down here. So you should have had, like I said, a bias of maybe looking down, other than the fact that I thought we'd get a retest first, but that never really transpired. So, but that's really all you can say about today. There's nothing special. It's just a typical kind of day. A lot of times coming back after a holiday, you'll have a lot of pent-up emotions and things, and the market will really take off. But obviously, that hadn't happened today, at least not yet. So there's not much else you can say about today. So I'm going to wrap this one up and just call it a day early, and I'm going to get out of here. Hope you had a good 3-day weekend. You can see, this is why I don't come in and try to trade those holidays. I mean, here's where, there was nothing going on. Basically nothing happened. And it's just not worth wasting your time with it. So, use it for a day off, use it for a day to study your past charts, use it productive, but generally trading on those kind of days is not very productive. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow. And, but this is Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.